I played 6 hours of Watch Dogs Legion and was also able to play it last year at E3, and the game has really changed and improved a lot since then. It was of course supposed to come out in March of this year, but now the release date is set for October 29th, 2020 for the PS4, Xbox One and PC, and then later for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X when those systems of course become available. So in this video I want to share my impressions and also go in depth on what has changed since we last saw the game. And again, that is almost a year ago at this point. For example, the Season Pass is much more interesting now, permadeath works different and way more. So a ton to discuss, a like on the video would be super appreciated. And let's go. I'm doing a special Ubisoft Forward giveaway for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Watch Dogs Legion or Far Cry 6. It's running for 1 week since the Ubisoft Forward event. So enter via the link in the pinned comments, be a subscriber of the channel if you want to participate, and I will reach out to the winner via the email 1 week after this video goes live. And Watch Dogs Legion basically got re-revealed during this Ubisoft Forward event, and if you watched the stream, then you might have noticed that there's now way more focus on special abilities for each character instead of some random stat boost. Like in the previous version of the game, you would scan enemies on the street and then you would see things like 200% extra melee damage or minus 200% melee damage resistance, or just an overall plus 100% damage or 40% drone damage, minus 10% drone health. Like pretty boring passive stats. Well, that has now completely changed. People now come kind of in categories. Like we have a hitman here that has exclusive abilities, like this character can do a combat role, but also 2 special weapons in his arsenal. I really like the artist who has a paintball gun and also a paint bomb, and in this particular case, discounts at shops. There are of course a ton of shops across London where you can buy stuff for every character in your team. So yeah, it's smart to recruit this guy and then also go shopping with him because you get some money off when you buy new clothes. But also the paintball gun is surprisingly good in combat and different from the nail gun that the mechanic can use. At one point I also recruited one of those palace guards that did not only look awesome but also has the ability to use an assault rifle, so I went Rambo with him. Or you have a beekeeper character that summons these bees and can target an enemy that will then be attacked, and this wasn't only super powerful but looked very awesome as well. You can only use this ability when playing this specific character, so there's a ton of variety. It's a huge improvement over the previous version of the game. We were now able to easily unlock some special characters, but in the final game it will be a little harder to track them down so you can recruit them. And the recruitment process is still kind of similar, so you should actually be able to find all the different characters from moment 1 if you really just look everywhere. And some characters already like DedSec while others need some convincing, and if they don't like you yet, then you have to look at the deep profiler to see what you can do to make them like you and DedSec. So in this case I had to access a database, and that is something that I'm still kind of worried about in this game. Like, it has an interesting system where it will create objectives in random locations on the map, and London is huge, so you will totally go to different locations almost all the time. At least that was the case in my 6-hour session. But the objectives in the different locations were not varied at all. It was always hack this database to erase this file, or rescue this hostage, or steal this car. And sure, it's fun to infiltrate these areas as different characters, but I still missed the variety, and I'm curious if this stays exciting after more than 10 hours. Luckily though, it is still a Watch Dogs game, and I just forgot how much I miss hacking things, like moving a car around, or hacking traps to take out enemies, hacking their phones to stun them so you can easily take them out. It's really something you cannot do in any other game. And yes, you can still do many of the objectives without even entering the restricted area, but by simply just standing close by and using a camera or a spider bot, for example, to erase the data. And every character is able to use the basic hack abilities that you come to expect from a Watch Dogs game, but there are of course some characters that can really go the extra mile, like the mechanic who can summon a cargo drone, for example, at any point, so that you can climb it to fly it and get to higher places. The two main missions that were in the demo promised a bit more variety compared to the recruitment missions, and also some linear moments, like where I had to infiltrate an Albion meeting as an Albion soldier who I just recruited. And as an Albion soldier, you can more easily access Albion restricted areas because they think you're one of them, unless you do like something suspicious. The familiar Watch Dogs puzzles are back in this game as well, where you have to make sure that the data flows through the wires and get from point A to, for example, B, a server. In one example, I had to switch between the cameras to get the right angle, and in another mission, I had to use the spider bot to get to places that I could not get to as a regular person. I like these puzzles, they are pretty challenging but rewarding. But overall though, in the main missions, I did miss some awesome cinematic moments that the previous two Watch Dogs games did have. Like, the cutscenes were well done and the villains look interesting, so hopefully we get some cool, more cinematic encounters as we come to expect from the series. Like, I wasn't able to complete this Clan Kelly mission that they showed off during the Ubisoft Forward event, but I gotta say, this mansion looks awesome. Like, missions like this get me excited, but I wasn't able to experience them. And while I cannot show you the cutscenes, I do have some gameplay of the opening mission that does set up an interesting arc that I also don't want to spoil. So the ingredients for an awesome main story are here, but the two missions they showed in the demo did not convince me. And apart from the missions that you can do, there are also of course a lot of open world activities. I want to do like a full video on what you can expect in London. Like, there was one activity in particular that I really liked. And you can of course also just randomly kill everyone if that is what you want. There is a familiar crime system in place though, with up to 5 ranks, where you will get to fight increasingly harder enemies. But don't worry if you die, because then you will not lose your character. Or actually, it depends on if you play on the permadeath mode or not. Like, that is another big change in this new version. Permadeath is now optional. It is a mode that you can choose to play on or not. So in my demo, when a character died or was arrested, I would just get them back in 30 or 60 minutes, also depending on other characters in your team that can speed up this process. When you have permadeath enabled though, then dying during a firefight really means that you lose that character. If you then have no available characters anymore that you can switch to, well, then it's just game over. Something super hardcore that we don't really see in any other Ubisoft game, but I really like it. So it's up to you if you want to play with permadeath on, or if you just want to play the regular mode, where you do not lose your character. Curious how the permadeath will impact the post-launch characters that they will add, but really with this new system, any new character they add should be way more exciting, because they can really come with unique abilities that we did not see before. And last year they revealed the Season Pass that included 4 new characters, likely some familiar heroes from the previous Watch Dogs games. It also had 1 mission and a car skin, and that was really it, so a pretty poor value. But they changed it now, big time, and it's way better now. So we still have those unique heroes, but now also story expansions. I asked them about this, like, what can we expect in terms of size? Is it comparable to what we see for Assassin's Creed? But they wanted to share more info on this at a later date. We also now have 3 missions instead of just 1, and still that car skin, but now also the Watch Dogs 1 Complete Edition thrown in there too. It of course kind of depends on how big the story expansions will be, but overall this is a way better value than it was before. I don't think we've ever seen Ubisoft give developers this much extra time to improve their, in this case, very ambitious game. And it's awesome to see that, and I applaud them for doing that, because really all the changes that I've seen in this new demo are for the best. And we should not take it for granted that all these main mission cutscenes can be played with every character, and They will all have different voices and move a little bit different, but somehow it still makes sense. Like, that is really the biggest achievement of this game. You feel like the character that you are playing is actually the main character of this game. It doesn't feel weird or out of place. Subscribe for way more on Watch Dogs Legion. I will go over way more things that I learned after my play session and from interviewing the developers in future videos, so stay tuned for that. A like on the video would be really appreciated, and check out some raw Watch Dogs Legion gameplay that I also uploaded, highlighting some of the characters that I recruited. For now though, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.